All right, Jay, we'll start with you with your opening statement. Our topic number one that we are discussing, whether Christ did or did not establish a visible head of church. We're talking, I believe, the correct phrase is apostolic succession. I know you guys believe in the. I know you guys believe in they believe in the papacy, right? And you don't, correct?
We agreed on divine simplicity or actus purus first. So all of my information out here. And
all right, we go to that. I have the opposite on my end. So
okay.
let's go to that. So you said we'll start with we have it as topic 3, but we'll go to that one second, or you have that one second or third?
Which one?
The visible head of church.
It's all over here, so I just have this one.
All right, let's go to topic. We'll change topic 3 to topic 1 here. Let's start with the divine essence is or is not absolutely simple. Go ahead, your opening statement.
Right. So, if I look at scholastic dictionaries from Roman Catholic texts, we see that for God or for philosophy or scholastic philosophy in general, pure act is defined as simple for perfection without any imperfection. It is free from any potency in the strictest sense. It is therefore unqualified perfection of existence without any passive or limited potency. And this is from the Dictionary of Scholastic Philosophy. Aquinas says something very similar, and as does Etienne Gilson, the student, one of the premier Thomists of the last century. In defining who God is, there is this beginning point that comes from Hellenic metaphysics. We would not, as Orthodox, necessarily agree with disagree with every usage of the word pure act. But what we would say is that when I look at that definition and I compare it to the teaching of, say, St. Maximus the Confessor in his famous 200 chapters, he begins the work by saying that God is not in himself, as far as it is possible for us to know, any kind of first principle, nor is he in an intermediate state, nor is he an end, nor is he any other concept, for he is indefinite, immobile, and infinite, since he is infinitely beyond any substance, any potentiality, and any actuality. So notice there, he is not pure act in himself. He is not actuality in himself. He goes on to say in section 4, God is not therefore a potentiality, nor is he a first principle, nor is he an actuality, nor is he a first cause. And he's citing from Aristotelian categories and definitions there. He goes on to say, though, that in another sense, we can call God these things. And the reason for this is that for Orthodox theology, there's 2 very crucial key distinctions, or ways that we name God that are distinct. We name God first in terms of the intra-Trinitarian life, or God in himself. And in that way, we do not positively predicate of the divine essence. So even though Tim will agree with me that there is a via negativa, Orthodox theology has a different conception of what apophatic theology is. So when we speak of the divine essence, we do not speak of it as identical to anything, much less identical to pure act, first act, actus purus, etc. The divine essence is unknowable, imparticipable, unapproachable, and it is therefore, strictly speaking, apophatic. How do we know God then if God is apophatic in this sense? Well, he's not only essence. God is also person. And as St. John of Damascus says multiple times On the Orthodox Faith, the key to all heresies is to confuse the distinction between nature and person. For the Orthodox Church, that distinction is as, quote, real or as strong as the distinction between the persons themselves. So while in Tim's philosophy he would agree that the Father and the Son are really distinct, that real distinction is somehow not applicable to anything else in the triad, be it God's attributes, operations, or the distinction between nature and person itself, which is conceived of as only mental or volitional in Thomistic philosophy. And I would argue that in Roman Catholic theology that holds as well, because the Fourth Lateran Council accepts the Peter Lombard definition of what simplicity is, known as identity thesis. This is Denzinger 432, that person and essence are essentially identical, but they're only mentally or rationally distinct. Thus, God is his essence. So notice, for them, God is first and foremost essence. But the Orthodox position is very different, and Maximus goes on to describe the way that we do speak of God in positive cataphatic categories, and that is because the energies are positive and known to us. Those energies are his operations. Where does this come from? Is this something that the medieval Byzantines made up? They just came up with this idea that energies are these things that God has that are other than him, and they're these other deities, these polytheistic parts of God. Absolutely not. In fact, we would argue that the only way to have divine simplicity consistently is to adhere to the divine simplicity of God, yes, but also that his operations are really there and really different from him. How do I know that? The Cappadocians made a classic analogy for how this is the case by looking at the difference between a man, his nature, and the work of nature and the product of nature. Allow me to quote St. John Damascus briefly here for that specific distinction. John Damascus says that, observe that energy, capacity of energy, and product of energy, and the agent of the energy are all different. For the Orthodox Church, we call these things the difference between nature, person, will, essence, and operation or energy, and the effect of that energy. Energy is the efficient and essential activity of the nature. So notice, that's the first statement from John Damascus. The same statement is made by St. Gregory